Good day, denizens of the African front. I'm Unsilent, and we're on the air with more of Battlefield 1942. It's election day in America. Good luck, make the right choice. That's all I'm going to say about it. The last time I went and talked about politics, I started getting dislikes on some of the videos, so I'm recording this, I think, 10, 11 days before election day, so yeah, who knows what November surprise is waiting for us after multiple October surprises. Anyway, this is more Battlefield 1942, the first Battlefield game. Now, in the last videos, I had mentioned I'm not exactly a World War II history buff. I have taken considerable notes, so I will be interspersing some of the knowledge I have picked up about World War II and some of the missions we are going to be tackling in Battlefield 1942 in the video, but we are going to start with the Battle of Tobruk. Now, let's read the briefing here. Despite staggering losses of tanks and troops, Allied forces have been able to hold Tobruk. Now, though, German and Italian tank divisions are swiftly descending on the city. Much of the 8th Army is retreating into Egypt, so it'll be up to a relatively small group of men to hold the city against this latest onslaught. Hopefully this will give the 8th Army some time to regroup, refuel, and return to hit the enemy before they can overrun the city. A small group of men will establish the first line of defense. Their mission is to keep the enemy from gaining any momentum as they approach the city. If the enemy begins to overrun these positions, the soldiers will fall back to the secondary line and continue to offer resistance. These men have survived months of siege on Tobruk. Now it looks like the decisive battle is at hand. Now this is where my research comes in handy. I don't think this is the decisive battle, but we will get into that in a minute. So the objectives: Tobruk must not fall, hold the Africa Corps at the outer perimeter, and we can successfully withstand the assault. Let's hit that load button. I don't think... Now, the siege of Tobruk went on for months. The Axis bombarded Tobruk from March to November of 1941. So you're looking at like an 8-month bombardment of this city. We are going to go anti-tank. I did not pick a spawn point. Shoot. Let's take the leftmost spawn point on the front line. With Africa, it's generally safest to go and pick an anti-tank or an engineer, one of the classes that is going to be opposed to tanks, because the Africa Corps is led by Rommel. There was mention of a German officer called the Desert Fox. No, see? There's some tanks way off in the distance. We fell well short on that shot. They're going to shell me anyway. So, Rommel was a tank expert. And so he was all about running and gunning. He didn't really siege up a lot, but what he liked to do was hit hard and hit fast with his tanks. So that's why we walk into this mission, and Rommel's tanks are already on the go to attack us. Now, if I can get behind the sandbags, it might provide me a little more cover, but I don't know how much good that's going to do against the Africa Corps. Now, Tobruk was actually a pretty big strategic objective for both sides, because the Axis, up until this point, had been using Benghazi as a staging point, as a port, to bring in their supplies. I know I said I wasn't going to talk about politics, so I'm not going to say anything more about Benghazi. No, not at all, not at all. Now, is there some ammo pickups here? That is very handy. Tobruk was a lot closer to the Egypt-Libya border than Benghazi was. We're talking about like a 900-kilometer difference between Tobruk and Benghazi. So initially, right around the outbreak of the war, the Italians moved from, I believe it was Libya that they had colonized. The one thing I forget to commit to memory. Oh, there we go. We got one. And the Italians were looking to take the Suez Canal, which was actually a smart strategic move for them. Because... oh, we got that one. That's one of theirs. We'll run and gun him. Very good. All right. I've gotten disoriented. Where's... oh, there's where I was set up. Well, actually, since... oh! I think... did I get, like, missile launched or something there? That was a big hit. Yeah, so sorry. The Italians... initially... were going to take the... Suez Canal in Egypt. And actually, it's a smart move on their part if they had actually captured it. Because... the Suez Canal would have cut off a lot of Allied support. Because if you look what the Suez would have forced around the Horn of Africa, what you're talking about is now all of a sudden... what the hell happened to me there? Because all of a sudden, what happens is... British allies and colonies... India and New Zealand and Australia and South Africa all of a sudden can't come up the Suez. They have to take the long road round to support the Allies, as opposed to coming up the Suez. Oh, apparently we had almost lost one of our... oh, crap. We're out of ammo. There, that got him. Slight delayed reaction to take him out. They snuck up behind me and took over my base. The bastards. Alright. Well, where are they then? Oh, that's not good. Interestingly, when the Italians had marched across the North African desert, they were supposed to take the Suez, rather. Kind of got stopped along the way into Egypt and just said, well, you know what? Into Egypt is good enough, and even then they couldn't maintain. And that's when Rommel got called in to bail them out and try and continue the push eastward through North Africa. Oh, crap. I was not expecting him to be there, but... a bullet to the brain will sort him out. Oh, that didn't kill him? You could shoot him point blank in the head, but apparently that doesn't do enough. We're just going to blow everyone up. I thought we got someone. Now, is there a health pack in somewhere? We are actually having a pretty good run here. Now, I don't think that this battle here is actually Operation Crusader. Now, Operation Crusader was the mission that the Allies undertook in order to relieve the siege on Tobruk. what it looks like we're doing here is basically just endeavoring to hold off the Axis advance onto Tobruk, outside the city. Even with the work we're doing here, and even with Operation Crusader relieving German siege, or the Axis siege on Tobruk, in 1942, the Axis was able to gather up their resources, gather up their men, and capture Tobruk. Now, we'd done reasonably well in the last couple of North African missions, but that's technically speaking not historically accurate. My research has shown that the Allies actually... Oh, I got blown up. The Allies did not do particularly well in the North African campaign until, I think, Alamein, I believe it's pronounced. We will come across that, I think, in an upcoming video. We're not probably not the next episode, maybe the episode after that. Alright. Spawn me up. We're going to get Mr. Helmut Müller. Nope, I'm going to get shot standing still like an idiot. Trying to take them out. We're going to use the bazooka to take out one of the tanks. And two of the tanks. All right. Oh, for a second I thought his name was Wilhelm Panzer, and I thought that would have been oddly appropriate. It's interesting. There's Mr. Helmut Müller again. One of the things I've been reading about... oh, he got blown up. One of the things I've been seeing about Battlefield 1 is that they've been changed. Like when your character dies, what they've been doing is, I'm just going to knife him. Let's see if we can do that. Ah, GG! I knifed him for the win! Haha! They've been changing the name of your character if you were to die, so as to make it sort of simulate war. Now, maybe that was just the opening mission, but it is a unique touch to Battlefield 1 that obviously you're not seeing in a game that is 16 years older than Battlefield 1. Anyway, it appears we have scored a major victory, something that would have been quite unusual on the North African campaign in World War II. It was an extremely difficult battle, but the Allied forces were able to defend Tobruk. Though the enemy attacked with everything, they were unable to breach the front lines. There have been rumors that the Axis is gearing up for one last major assault in North Africa. Rommel's forces will soon be out of fuel, and Berlin will have to admit that this attempt to control North Africa is doomed. It's actually interesting. I didn't want to bring it up so soon. Let's click continue and we'll move on to the next mission. I didn't want to bring it up so soon, but one of the things I kept reading was Germans started out really strong, but they ran short of supplies. And actually, in one of our upcoming missions, when we go back to the Eastern Front, I think it's our next mission in the Eastern Front, we'll talk about this a little more. But supplies was the big stopping point. Why did Germany suddenly fizzle out so quickly? It's because they ran out of supplies. But we will come to that. I think it's in the next video. But for now, let's go on to the Battle of Midway Island. American and Japanese fleets are once again preparing for a major showdown in the Pacific, this time near Midway Island. Within striking distance of either Hawaii or Japan, Midway is of obvious strategic importance. Fortunately for the US, American Naval Command has learned secret information regarding Japanese attack plan. While Japan conducts diversionary attacks, the US knows that the bulk of the Japanese force is heading towards US-controlled Midway. It is now a tense waiting game as the US fleet patrols the region, hoping to spot the Japanese force before it spots them. The winner at Midway will have a clear advantage in the war in the Pacific. Our objective: Midway is the key. Holding it will allow us to slowly but surely reduce the Japanese forces facing us. Their aircraft carrier is a high priority target. If you see an opportunity to sink it, take it. Most of Midway was really a naval battle. But since this is more of an infantry-based video game, it's multiple aspects of war, I suppose, is what Battlefield really is. But in this instance, it is, at this point in time, it is really mostly about infantry. So let us hop aboard a troop transport. Apparently I... Oop, no. Oh, there we go. So Midway Island was actually considered a major strategic objective for both sides because of its location. Unfortunately, for Japanese, they kind of bollocks this one all up. But we will get to that as we get farther in. We will... okay, no. Can we lower the... Can we lower that? Oh, tooltips. No, I don't. There, tooltips are off. All right. Meanwhile, oh, we've taken the far point. The far point is... Oh, it's not going to tell me what the far point is. But it's not to be confused with Farpoint from Star Trek The Next Generation. We will capture... Airstrip? Looks like an airstrip. Well, it seems kind of important. Now we've captured both points, we'll start slowly draining the Japanese tickets. Now the key to Midway... Now they talked about U.S. secret knowledge of the upcoming offensive at Midway. What ended up happening was, oh good, the Japanese have tanks. Anyway, what I was going to say was the Japanese naval code had actually been cracked. So what had actually happened was that the Americans had found out that, had figured out the Japanese, Japanese code and were able to decrypt their messages. We can't shoot him in this vehicle, so we'll just have to leave him be. And try and recapture this outpost here. So they had thought they had cracked Japanese naval code. But in order to be sure about that, they unsecured... I'm about to die here. Oh, and we've lost the other outpost. Brilliant. Is anybody actually doing their jobs around here? We do not have a lot of luck in these Pacific Front missions. Oh, what the hell happened? We got killed by a Sherman tank. We recaptured that, so that's a start. Recaptured the airfield, so we will respawn with that. So to confirm that they had cracked the Japanese code, what the Americans had done was transmit an unsecured message saying that Midway Island had a, I think it was like a water filtration failure or something to that effect, right? Basically, they were saying, you know, the water filtration system's down, we need repairs, we're running out of water, yada, yada, yada. The idea was to trick the Japanese into saying something to confirm that, oh, he ran over the Japanese soldier there. The idea was to trick the Japanese into making some communication that mentioned a location, or used some sort of coded reference to a location, in this case Midway Island. So that way, if they saw something go across the Japanese encrypted communications, they could see, oh, is it Midway they're talking about? Oh, did they say, oh, there's a problem with Midway Island, or whatever code, I forget what code name that the Japanese had been using for Midway. Oh, I think oh, no, I did hit their battleship. Oh, damn. They just torpedoed me with the plane. Oh, my goodness. We've lost the, we lost the, airfield. This might have a little bit of attrition to it. And the Japanese have captured the airfield. Well, that's not good. Where'd that vehicle of yours go? Holy balls. The Japanese appear to have a little bit of air superiority over us, and it's not doing us a lot of good. Oh, never mind. I'll take the tank, thanks. So the briefing for the mission had talked about the Japanese dispersing their fleet in order to... Let's say I had Dustin Brown on board, captain of the Los Angeles Kings hockey team. I used to think that's his name. I can't remember. I don't pay as much attention to hockey as a good Canadian should. But the Japanese had dispersed their fleet in order to sort of draw the Americans away from Midway. There we go. We've got the airstrip now. The problem was that the idea was that they were going to try and disperse the fleet. The Japanese Navy's plan was really to disperse the fleet in order to make it seem like there wasn't that strong an attack going against Midway. Basically, the idea was they were going to lure the Americans into a trap. Unfortunately for the Japanese, they had outsmarted themselves quite a bit. Because in attempting to disperse the fleet, they left their fleet out of position to support the assault on Midway. And as a result, they basically got wiped out. I mean, you're talking... The Americans lost, my notes say, 100 airplanes, 300 men. The Japanese lost 5 ships, 4 carriers and a heavy cruiser, 300 planes and 5,000 men on this offensive. You know, it wasn't a matter of, oh, they had created this diversion. No, they had just completely outsmarted themselves because they put themselves so badly out of position in order to be able to attack Midway. Oh. Never mind, somebody got him with the bazooka before I could. Meanwhile, my gunner sees something that I sure as hell don't. I know what he sees. Oh, he got him before I could. We're doing fairly well, so I think I'm going to take a chance. Let's try the airplane. How bad could that go? GG, we lose. That's how bad it can go. Alright, we've started the plane. Now we're going to wait for nose to dip. Alright. Ow. Hang on. I don't think... Well, crap. Pull up. Pull up. Alright, I see him. I think I'm being hit. I've been very hit. I am very down. I was doing good there for a couple minutes. I thought I had a really good... I was doing... Hey! You stole my tank! I thought I was doing really good in the airplane there for a couple of minutes there. I guess that was not to be. That was close. I mentioned 300 planes got taken out in this battle. 300 Japanese planes, to be specific again. Apparently, that was about 1/3 of the Japanese Navy's air power. Gone. One battle. And again, it's just a matter of they came in with a plan, but it just was not a good plan. It ended up... Maybe it cost them the battle in the Pacific right from this point. I know it was... air superiority was a much bigger deal in the battle for Europe after D-Day. And certainly in the North African campaign. But we'll see as we progress through the rest of the Pacific campaign how air superiority factors into the success or lack thereof for the Japanese and Americans. I mean, we already know how this was going to end, but I think we could take out this little... Fire you? No else. Oh, I hit him! I sunk their troop carrier. Rocked him. Well, this one, there's a lot of running back and forth and wondering, is anyone shooting at anyone? But at least we got to try out an airplane and figure out that, you know, there's a reason flight simulators come with joysticks and not mouse and keyboard. Or I guess are designed for joysticks and not mouse and keyboard. So much like the actual battle for Midway, we are going to score the victory here. A major victory. The U.S. fleet chalked up a decisive victory at Midway. Many are declaring this moment the most significant naval battle of the war so far. In the end, one might, even though we weren't in the naval battle really, one could consider this the most significant naval battle on the Pacific front. Thanks to key intelligence information, U.S. naval commanders stayed one step ahead of the Japanese fleet throughout the battle. Having lost most of their modern carriers, Japan is most surely on the run after this defeat. In fact, that's all entirely true. We just went over some of those notes during this. So that will do it for this episode of Battlefield 1942. Thank you very much for joining me as we continue this journey through the original Battlefield game. Like the video if you like it, subscribe if you're new, share it on social media, follow on social media. I say these every time at the end of these videos, but it does help bump these videos up the rankings. So if you like this and you want to see more, or you want other people to see it, doing all that stuff does help boost the videos and boost the channel in YouTube rankings. I'm getting a steady trickle of people watching videos now, but you want to kind of push it up a little bit and have more people check this out. Enjoy old games with you. Anyway, thank you very much for joining me. And don't forget that YouTubing jazz, and we will see you next time.